In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 NBA games happening on January 11, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets. As we provide these videos on a daily basis, I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. New Orleans Pelicans versus Orlando Magic. The New Orleans Pelicans head into Orlando on Sunday to take on the Magic at the Kia Center, and both teams feel a bit like they are in the middle of identity checks right now rather than cruising through the schedule. The Pelicans just came off a loss to the Hawks, then bounced back with a win over the Wizards, and they have the Nuggets on deck, which is not exactly a soft landing spot when you have already dropped 9 of your last 10 games. Orlando's recent path looks steadier on the surface. They lost to the 76ers, handled the Nets, and now get the Pelicans before seeing the Grizzlies. And stacking 20 wins in their last 34 games shows they can still grind out results even when the performances are not always pretty. In terms of bodies, the Pelicans are still missing Jose Alvarado, Herbert Jones, Sadiq Bey, and DeJounte Murray, which keeps their rotation in a constant state of patchwork and makes it tough to build rhythm from night to night. The Magic are not exactly at full strength either, with Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner ruled out and Tristan da Silva tagged as questionable, so both sides are juggling minutes and roles. You absolutely could not trust the Pelicans during that 9-game losing skid, and the fact that 5 of those losses were double-digit blowouts tells you how messy things got on both ends of the floor. Friday against the Wizards, though, they looked like a completely different group, sharper with the ball, more confident with their shots, and simply more connected, which gives them at least a little momentum to cling to as they walk into this matchup. They will be trying to bottle that performance and bring the same edge against a Magic team that has started to wobble a bit as the injury list has grown, even though the broader record still looks respectable. Over the last couple of weeks, the Pelicans have basically been in a free fall. They slipped back into bad habits, got careless with the ball again, and the injury bug has kept them from settling into any consistent rotation, which naturally drags down their ceiling. Even so, that situation does not automatically make the Magic a safe side. Orlando still has obvious consistency issues of its own and is dealing with its own health problems, and that shows up where it hurts bettors most. The Magic are just 14-25 against the spread this season, which is rough for a team that wins more often than it covers. Zooming in a bit more, the Magic are 3-12 against the spread in their last 15 games when they are favorites of 5 or more points, which is a terrible track record for laying a decent-sized number. Since Christmas, they are only 1-3 straight up in that same favorite range, so even winning outright has not been a given when the market expects them to handle business. You can criticize the Pelicans for their form and their health, and plenty of that is fair, but they are at least a profitable 21-18-1 against the spread on the season, which makes them more trustworthy from a numbers point of view than their reputation might suggest. The Magic are slowly starting to get healthy again, but their actual level of play has not yet snapped back to its peak, and that leaves some wiggle room for a hungry underdog. Given the Pels' ability to cover more often than not, the Magic's shaky record when laying bigger numbers, and the small spark New Orleans showed against Washington, it is reasonable to expect the Pelicans to hang around and keep this one competitive, with an upset not completely out of the question if things break their way late. As our first pick for this matchup, the New Orleans Pelicans to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The New Orleans Pelicans are averaging 115.6 points on 46.1% shooting and allowing 123.1 points on 48.8% shooting. They are hitting 34.1% of their threes and 79% of their free throws, while allowing opponents to shoot 35.7% from deep and pulling in 43.4 rebounds per game. Those figures tell a pretty clear story. The Pelicans can put the ball in the basket at a solid rate, but they are giving up even more on the other end, and that combination often produces scorelines where both sides land in comfortable scoring ranges. On the other side, the Orlando Magic are averaging 116.8 points on 46.6% shooting and allowing 115.1 points on 47.6% shooting. They are knocking down 34% from beyond the arc and 78.8% from the free throw line, while giving up 35.9% shooting from three and grabbing 44.8 rebounds per game. Put together, you have two teams that score in the mid-1 on average and also allow opponents to shoot efficiently from the field and from deep. New Orleans' defense has been leaky, and Orlando's has not exactly slammed the door either, so stretches where both squads trade buckets for several minutes at a time are very realistic. The rebounding numbers, especially with the Magic at 44.8 boards per game and the Pelicans not far behind, also hint at extra chances on the offensive glass, which often means more putbacks, more trips to the line, and more total points on the scoreboard. So, when you combine solid offensive averages, permissive defensive numbers, and enough rebounding presence to extend possessions on both sides, this matchup sets up as one where the total has every opportunity to lean higher rather than grind into a slow, low-scoring slog. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Brooklyn Nets versus Memphis Grizzlies. The Nets roll into Memphis on a rough stretch, with losses to the Magic and Clippers and a date with the Mavericks on deck, and it really feels like the schedule is squeezing them a bit right now. They have dropped 5 of their last 6, and you can see it in their body language as much as in the box scores. On the other side, the Grizzlies are not exactly cruising either. They are coming off losses to the Suns and Thunder, with the Magic waiting for them next, and they have dropped 6 of their last 7. So neither team is hot, but Memphis is more used to this patch it together and compete anyway kind of situation, which matters when both sides are short on bodies. Brooklyn has already ruled out Drake Powell, Zaire Williams, Michael Porter Jr., and Haywood Highsmith, so they are pulling key rotation pieces off the board before the opening tip. That is not just a talent issue, it is a chemistry issue, because those are guys who have been eating real minutes and touches. Memphis, for their part, are still missing Ja Morant, Brandon Clark, Ty Jerome, and Zach Edey, among others, which is hardly a small thing, but this group has basically been living in that reality for a while and has built its habits around it. The big angle here is the decision to rest Michael Porter Jr. for this one. He has been the Nets' primary scoring engine, and when a team that has already gone cold lately sits its main shot maker, it tilts the floor toward the other side. Without him, Brooklyn's offense is more predictable, easier to load up on, and far more likely to hit those ugly 3 or 4 minute scoring droughts that usually decide spreads. Memphis should still be irritated after blowing that 21-point lead to the Thunder in their last outing. That kind of collapse usually stings for more than a day, and teams often come out with a bit of a chip on their shoulder next time out. Given that they are facing a Nets group that is short-handed and struggling to score, this is a pretty natural take it out on the next opponent's spot for the Grizzlies. Brooklyn's recent form suggests they will have trouble keeping up offensively without Porter Jr., and when you mix that with Memphis' comfort playing through injuries, it leans toward the Grizzlies having the cleaner path to covering as favorites. As our first pick for this matchup, the Memphis Grizzlies to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Brooklyn Nets are averaging 109.3 points on 44.9% shooting from the field and giving up 114.1 points on 48.6% shooting. They are hitting 34.8% from 3 and 78.1% at the free throw line, while allowing opponents to shoot 37.1% from deep and grabbing 39.9 rebounds per game. The Memphis Grizzlies bring a slightly higher scoring baseline, averaging 115.9 points on 45.7% shooting and allowing 116.6 points on 46.4%. They are shooting 35% from beyond the arc and 80% from the line, while giving up 36.3% from 3 and pulling down 46.2 rebounds per game. So, both teams tend to allow decent efficiency, and Memphis in particular has that strong rebounding edge, which often leads to extra possessions and second chance points. When you put those numbers side by side, you get two defenses that are not exactly locking teams up and two offenses that, while inconsistent at times, are used to playing in games where both sides get into the mid-1 Brooklyn's defense has been letting opponents shoot well from the field and from 3, which can turn an ordinary shooting night for Memphis into something a bit more explosive. Memphis's defense is not spotless either, so even a short-handed Nets squad can find some scoring if the ball moves and they attack the gaps. That mix of permissive defenses, three-point volume, and a strong rebounding presence on the Grizzlies' side points toward a matchup where the total has a good chance to drift upward rather than stall out. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. New York Knicks versus Portland Trail Blazers. The New York Knicks head out to the Moda Center to face the Portland Trail Blazers on Sunday night, and it is one of those spots where recent form and perception are pulling in opposite directions a bit. The Knicks are coming off a loss to the Suns after a win over the Clippers, with the Kings waiting for them next, and they have dropped 5 of their last 6 overall. That record lines up with what the eye test says, which is that their momentum has stalled at the wrong time. Portland, on the other hand, has stacked wins over the Jazz and Rockets and will see the Warriors next. They have won 7 of their last 8 games, so they are walking into this matchup with a lot more confidence than they had earlier in the season. For a young team, that kind of streak usually feels huge, almost like proof that the work is finally paying off. Looking at the injury report, the Knicks have ruled out Landry Shamet, and they are monitoring Josh Hart and Guerschon Yabusele, who are both questionable. Portland has ruled out Jeremy Grant, Chris Murray, and Scoot Henderson, with Robert Williams III and Jrue Holiday both listed as questionable. So both benches are thinner than ideal, but the Blazers might actually gain a boost if Holiday is cleared, which would drop a serious perimeter defender right onto the main ball handler the Knicks rely on. The Knicks have gone off the boil lately, and that recent loss to the Suns was telling because they were strangely poor in clutch time, which is usually where they lean on their structure and guard play. They are having a hard time finding consistent offense, and that has shown up in the standings and in tickets, with losses in 5 of their last 6 and a rough 2-8 against the spread mark over their last 10. When a team that once felt trustworthy starts wobbling like that, it puts every spread conversation under a bit of extra stress. Meanwhile, the young Trail Blazers are learning how to close games and how to win as a group. That is not just a nice narrative either, it has actually put money in bettors' pockets over the last couple of weeks. Portland now sits at 23-16 against the spread on the season, and they are 3-0 straight up as an underdog in the 2026 calendar so far. Those are the sort of numbers that quietly turn a so-called rebuilding team into a favorite among people who follow lines every night. There is also the Holiday angle that keeps popping up for this matchup. If he is able to go, he gives the Blazers an extra body and a top-tier defender for stretches against Brunson, which matters a lot when so much of the Knicks' late-game offense runs through one primary creator. It is not that New York cannot answer, it is more that every extra obstacle on that path tilts a close spread a little more toward the home side. We have been backing the Trail Blazers quite a bit lately, and with their current form and home court on their side, there is not much reason to suddenly jump off the train in this spot. This project is a close contest, but Portland is carrying all the momentum right now, and that sets up a very reasonable case for them to keep it rolling with another upset win at home while covering as underdogs in the process. As our first pick for this matchup, the Portland Trail Blazers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The New York Knicks are averaging 120.5 points on 47.3% shooting and allowing 115 points on 46.6% shooting. They are hitting 38.1% from beyond the arc and 80.2% from the free throw line. On the other side of the ball, they are allowing opponents to shoot 37.1% from deep and are grabbing 46.2 rebounds per game. That mix, a strong offense paired with a defense that gives up respectable efficiency from outside, tends to create games where both teams can find scoring pockets. The Portland Trail Blazers are averaging 116.3 points on 44.6% shooting and allowing 119.7 points on 47.5% shooting. They are shooting 34% from three-point range and 77.1% from the free throw line. Defensively, they are allowing 35.8% shooting from deep and pulling down 45.6 rebounds per game. So they are scoring enough, but they are also giving opponents clean looks and plenty of chances. When you lay these profiles side by side, you see two teams that score in the mid-1 teens and allow opponents to shoot well from the floor and from beyond the arc. Neither defense looks set up to completely smother the other's strengths, and with both teams rebounding solidly, there should be second-chance opportunities and rhythm possessions instead of long stretches of stalled offense. That combination, strong offensive averages, leaky enough defense, and decent activity on the glass, usually leans toward games that climb past moderate totals rather than sinking into a slow, low-scoring grind. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Philadelphia 76ers versus Toronto Raptors. The Philadelphia 76ers roll into Scotiabank Arena to face the Toronto Raptors on Sunday night, and this one has that classic numbers versus injuries feel to it. On recent form alone, Philly looks like the more stable side, with wins over the Wizards and Magic and victories in 5 of their last 6 games giving them a pretty confident rhythm. Toronto is not stumbling either, to be fair. They beat the Hornets, then ran into the Celtics and took a loss. And they have still managed to win 6 of their last 9, which is not exactly the profile of a pushover at home. So you have a home dog that has been competitive, which usually makes things interesting against a hot favorite. The big story is how these rosters look by tip-off. The 76ers are watching Joel Embiid's status with that familiar left knee injury management tag, which always makes people a bit nervous, but outside of him they are in decent shape. Toronto, by comparison, is dealing with a heavier load, with R.J. Barrett and Jacob Poeltl already ruled out and Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram both sitting in the questionable bucket. Honestly, when that many key names hang in the balance, it becomes tough to make a strong case for the Raptors without feeling like you are betting on a medical report more than a basketball matchup. On the numbers side, Philadelphia has been one of the most reliable road tickets you can find, carrying a league-best 13 to 3-1 against the spread mark away from home. That is not a small sample fluke week trend either. It lines up with their overall profile. They are 22 to 13-1 against the spread on the season, making them one of the top cover teams in the league by any reasonable standard. They have covered 5 of their last 6 games overall, and that consistency is sometimes more valuable than sheer talent, especially on the road. The Raptors do have one thing in their corner historically. They have taken 5 of the last 6 meetings against the 76ers, including a win back in November, so there is some series confidence built up there. There is real value in a home underdog that knows it can beat a particular opponent. The issue is that with Barrett back on the injury list and both Barnes and Ingram listed as questionable, it is really hard to give Toronto a clean, fair shake if they are potentially missing that many core pieces again. Philadelphia, in contrast, is mostly healthy outside of the Embiid question, and the structure around him is in a good spot. Tyrese Maxey is steering the offense with pace and aggression, and the Sixers have a clear depth edge across the rotation, which matters if this game turns into a grind where benches decide the non-star minutes. With their road record, their overall against the spread mark, and the Raptors' injury uncertainty all pointing in the same direction, the matchup leans toward the 76ers having enough to win and cover if they show anything close to their recent level. The current line feels reasonable for backing the more dependable side. As our first pick for this matchup, the Philadelphia 76ers to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Philadelphia 76ers are averaging 117 points on 45.2% shooting and allowing 118.1 points on 46.5% shooting. They are knocking down 36.2% of their threes and 81.4% of their free throws. Defensively, they are allowing 34.4% shooting from deep and pulling in 44.8 rebounds per game. Those numbers suggest that Philly games often have some scoring pace to them, but there is a bit of a catch. They rebound well enough to close possessions, and their three-point defense has been solid, which can slow opponents just enough to prevent things from turning into a track meet every night. The Toronto Raptors are averaging 114.4 points on 47.4% shooting and allowing 112.7 points on 46.3% shooting. They are shooting 35.1% from beyond the arc and 77.9% from the free throw line. On the defensive side, they are allowing 34.1% shooting from deep and grabbing 43.4 rebounds per game. So you have 2 offenses capable of scoring in the 1-teens, but also 2 defenses that actually protect the three-point line reasonably well while controlling the glass. That combination can quietly pull games toward more half-court offense and fewer easy rhythm threes, which often trims a few points off what you might expect just from raw scoring averages. Then you circle back to the injury questions, and they point in the same direction for the total. If Embiid sits or is limited, Philadelphia's offense usually slows down and leans more on structured sets instead of constant pressure at the rim. On the Raptors' side, missing Barrett and possibly Barnes or Ingram would strip away playmaking and shot creation, which naturally caps their scoring ceiling and can force longer, more deliberate possessions. Both teams also rebound well enough to prevent endless second-chance fireworks. Put all of that together, solid but not unstoppable offenses, competent three-point defense, strong rebounding, and the real possibility of multiple key scorers either sitting or playing banged up, and you get a matchup that leans more toward a controlled scoring environment than a wild shootout. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. San Antonio Spurs versus Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves welcome the San Antonio Spurs to Target Center on Sunday night, and this one has a quietly tricky feel to it. San Antonio is coming in riding high after wins over the Lakers and the red-hot Celtics, with the Thunder on deck, and they have taken 26 of their last 39, which is not exactly the profile of a soft underdog. Minnesota is hardly cold, though. They just beat the Heat, split their mini-set with the Cavaliers, and have the Bucks up next, so the schedule has not been light for them either. They have still managed to win 15 of their last 21, which says a lot about their floor as a group. On the personnel side, the Spurs are once again without Devin Vassell, which does sting a bit on the wing. The Timberwolves have decided to rest Mike Conley for this game, so they will have to lean on other ball handlers to steady the offense and organize things, especially late. These teams have already squared off once this season, and Minnesota took that one by 125 to 112, but they were just hammered by the Cavaliers last night, which can leave some lingering fatigue, mental as much as physical. The Spurs, by contrast, are coming off that impressive win over Boston, and when you beat a team playing as well as the Celtics, it usually gives you an extra shot of belief. So while the matchup might initially look like a straightforward lean to the home favorite, it really does have a could-go-either-way vibe when you step back a bit. Minnesota will still get the automatic nod from a lot of people simply because they are at home, where they are 14-6 straight up. They have also taken 8 of the last 10 meetings against the Spurs, so the history tilts their way. The thing is, this version of the Timberwolves has a habit of playing with its food a little too much, letting weaker opponents hang around, and they are coming off that loss to the Cavs last night, which is not ideal when you are laying points. On the flip side, San Antonio is not the kind of dog you casually fade right now. The Spurs are 21-17-1 against the spread this season, and they have won outright in 10 of their last 15 games as an underdog, which is a serious run in that role. Calling them one of the best teams in the league might sound bold, but with that sort of form and as long as they are mostly healthy, there is going to be value when the market keeps hanging plus numbers on them. The Timberwolves at a short home line will tempt a lot of bettors, no question. However, if the Spurs bring anything close to the level they showed against the Celtics, they have a very realistic shot at getting their revenge for that earlier loss and sneaking out with a narrow win. In a tight contest where the road team has been thriving as an underdog and the home team is on the second leg of a back-to-back, leaning toward the Spurs with the points makes plenty of sense. As our first pick for this matchup, the San Antonio Spurs to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The San Antonio Spurs are averaging 120 points on 48.3% shooting and allowing 114.2 points on 46.5% shooting. They are hitting 35.8% of their threes and 79.4% from the free throw line. On the other end, they are giving up 36.2% shooting from deep and pulling down 46.2 rebounds per game. Those numbers paint a clear picture of a team that plays with pace, scores efficiently, and also gives opponents plenty of room to operate. San Antonio games tend to breathe, with both sides finding rhythm, and the rebounding total suggests there are enough possessions and second chances to keep the scoreboard ticking. The Minnesota Timberwolves are right in that same scoring neighborhood, averaging 119.6 points on 48% shooting and allowing 114.1 points on 45.6% shooting. They are knocking down 36.4% from beyond the arc and 76.2% at the free throw line. Defensively, they are allowing 35% shooting from three-point range and grabbing 44.8 rebounds per game. So now you have two teams that both sit near 120 points per night offensively and both allow opponents to score in the mid-1 teens with decent shooting percentages. Neither side looks set up to completely choke off the other's strengths, and both have enough outside shooting to punish any slow rotations. The rebounding numbers on each side also suggest there will be a healthy number of extended possessions and putbacks instead of one-and-done trips. Add in the fact that Minnesota is on a back-to-back, which can sometimes tilt things a bit toward looser defense and more open-floor basketball, and you get a matchup that easily leans toward a higher-scoring environment. With efficient offenses, defenses that are good but not suffocating, and two teams comfortable in games played in the 1-teens or higher, the setup favors a total that trends upward rather than stalling out. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.